Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us on the Fancy Football podcast. If you're a fan of fictional characters and famous people going head-to-head in a five-side football setting, then you are in luck because this is the absolute blueprint of a show for you. If you're not interested in football, don't worry. It's mostly about pop culture and fantasy and just trying to have a laugh whilst we chat about it. There's a competitive edge too. And last week, Rob took victory in the Food Mascot Challenge, where players such as Julius Pringles and the Red Jelly Baby took on Captain Birdseye. This week, I'll be looking for revenge whilst Rob seeks to extend his winning streak and Ronald McDonald to an unprecedented 3 in a row. Find out what happens as we get into the match right up next.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously I was happy to have won, naturally. And I was eagerly awaiting your prize to come.
Hello, Rob.
Hello.
How's it going?
Not bad, are you?
I'm all good. Are you ready for another week of fantasy football?
Maybe too ready.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to try something different. I am on a 2-game losing streak, and I think, well, that's good because I am not. I think I just about finished preparing my team.
I would think that was a good thing, but you tend to surprise me with your odd choices, and they end up. On paper, I think, well, I should win this round, and then I don't. So, you thinking on your feet's not always a good thing for me.
If I lose this, it would be the longest losing/winning streak we've had. We've never had a 3 in a row.
No, true. But
So,
I like a challenge.
Yeah, odds are ever in your favour and all that. To quote the Hunger Games.
Is that where Surely that's not where that's originally from.
Probably not, but you can fact check if you want.
I'm tempted, but I won't. We'll just say it's from there.
Leave that for the people. So if the same kids from last week are listening, feel free to Google that. Let us know.
Yeah. Those bloody kids.
They're honestly, they're the bane of my existence. Sending us emails. Oh, what will they do next? Tweet us, please. Tweet us.
Anyone.
So, should we talk about your prize for winning last week's Food Mascots episode?
Yeah, definitely. But for once, it actually didn't arrive, and I was confused why. So I managed to find I did kind of get I inquired about it online, and I managed to get like a code I could use online to look into it and see where it had gone and what had gone wrong and why I hadn't received it. And when I looked into it, it turned out that you'd sent me an Easter egg, which was very nice and very topical at the moment. As it's food, apparently you're not meant to post food. Which I wasn't really, completely 100% aware of, but I did wonder. But they managed to send me a picture of it, and it was at this point that I kind of the feeling that you were trying to do something nice turned into the feeling that maybe you were a little bit spiteful about losing, because all over the egg it said this is food, this is food, this is food, on the packaging. So you'd clearly wrapped it up and then gone, well, they might not know that's an egg, and therefore it might actually make it to me. And as I like Easter eggs. That would have been a good prize, and you'd managed to definitely insist on it being food, and therefore it didn't get to me. But I'll assume that was just maybe a way of checking that you were within the guidelines of Royal Mail. I'm not sure, but it did seem a little bit spiteful.
Well, if you've got a keyboard in front of you now, you can have a look down, and you can see that the F is next to the G. And so what's gone on there is I've obviously written it handwritten, but I've just made a typo. So it was meant to say, this is good, this is good, this is good. But
oh, right.
Yeah, no, it's just a typo. It's a typo with my handwriting.
Yeah, because they're right next to each other on the keyboard. So
yeah,
if you're looking at that while you're writing, I guess there's a very, very minute chance of doing that. But
it's the only way to write.
It has to happen eventually.
So many times I've called this the Gantasy Gutball podcast. Unbelievable.
I thought that's what it was called at first. So I'm glad you clarified.
If you look that up, they actually have pretty good content,
That's like the Hungarian version.
Yeah. So that's at Gang Gut if you're if you're looking for them on socials. Well, hey, it's thought that counts and all that. And
Oh yeah.
I hope maybe you'll be able to return the favour if I ever win a game again. Which brings us on handily to the theme this week, which was your choice.
As always, I probably overthink what the theme's going to be. I had a few different things I was thinking of going for, and there are a few things in the back of my mind that I think I'm going to have to do that eventually, but I'm kind of shelving it, or even waiting for it to be topical, because we love to be topical, despite never doing it ever. We really want to be. I ended up actually doing something from last week because it kept grating on my mind. If you remember last week, we mentioned, well, I think even it was me that mentioned that maybe we'll have a Celebrity Chefs episode in the future. And so I thought, let's just go Celebrity Chefs, because I love cooking shows. I don't really know why, because I do, as much as I quite enjoy cooking, I don't really cook anything that interesting, I don't think, but I just love, especially American cooking shows. But I do like MasterChef, the UK one, and obviously I've referenced that in Gaming Week, even though completely irrelevant, we managed to force it into the Halo reference. But I love American cooking shows just because they're so dramatic, and I like American food icons. So it was a dream week for me. But you know what that means. Of course, that means that if I do lose this week, I'll be really devastated.
Yeah, it's it's probably not a great one for me. I'm not a lover of cooking shows. I watch a bit, but I tend to find them, for me, they're a bit like background noise. But there are a few that I think you're right. I think the sweet spot for me is your ridiculous American ones. We're all being really cautious not to mention anyone just in case there's a last minute change to the lineups. But I'm sure when we get to them, we'll both be quite pleased with who turns up. But yeah, I've got a few. Yeah, there's some left field choices for this week. So I don't know. Maybe I'll impress you with sheer weirdness. Maybe you'll maybe your picks will just be too good to turn down. I mean, anyone with a Michelin star is probably looking good.
I'm hoping so. But at the same time, I do think, even if I pick like massive giants of like UK and American cooking culture, let's say, there's always the chance that your potential outside choices will catch me off guard. But I do think there's a few in there that you may think, who the hell's that? And then be like, bloody hell, that's a titan of a choice. After a lot of Googling. But yeah, I'm hopeful, but I'm always cautious. I think week one, I remember thinking this should be fine for me, and then it wasn't, and then I ended up being like, what was it, 3-0 down or something. So I need to be, and I'm always unsure of how it will go, but I'm quietly confident.
So should we talk about team names?
Yes, definitely.
Now, typically the home side would go first, but you have already pre-warned me. You've got a whole recipe book's worth of names.
Oh yeah, as always. But I do think the standard's better this week.
Okay.
Which I know better than dreadful isn't a lot, but it's it's still better, I think.
Shall I get my one rubbish one out the way?
Get your one brilliant one out the way if you want.
Yep. I've gone for Nigella Law-Sunderland.
That's good. And it's not even one I've picked, so well done.
There we go. Nigella Law-Sunderland. That's the away team. And if they play like Sunderland, I'm in trouble.
Considering I've picked like way too many like other options and I didn't think of that, that's enough to ruin my day. So, well, yeah, obviously I've kind of forced this as being my thing every week of having endless team names that I could have used that are dreadful puns or just dreadful. Really. But yeah, so my other options are included, and also actually this will give you some ideas for your picks. But I'm willing to do that in a poor attempt at humour. But I've gone for, as my other options, Aaron Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares.
That's pretty good.
Bobby Flamino, like Bobby Flay, famous American TV. This is one you have to do like a proper Shirley Bassey mouth to get it to work right. But I've gone for Restaurant Apoel because there's an American cooking show called Restaurant Impossible.
Move on quickly.
Yeah. James Martin Tyler.
Fine.
The Naked Jeff Shreves.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Like the Naked Chef. Wolfsburg Puck, like Wolfgang Puck.
Yeah, very nice.
That's not a bad one. Jamie Oliver Norwood. I hate Jamie Oliver.
Well, I've got no strong opinion, but I'm just saying. He's had a couple of references, and he's doing. Yeah. He does all right, but he did take chips away from us. So I think now let's deplatform Jamie Oliver.
And Turkey Twizzlers.
Well, never that bothered about Turkey Twizzlers. It was just chips and cheese on a Friday and a Tuesday.
But yeah, I've still got more, so I'll carry on. Rick Steinsteiger.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right. Matthias Klitschin.
Very nice.
Too many Paul Cooks.
Topical.
It is.
Ipswich just got taken over today. Paul Cook's the manager there. So,
have you seen the Paul Cook video where halfway through his voice changes?
No.
It was from like the other day, and it's the funniest thing ever because I think he had like a cold or something, and his voice is completely gone. And halfway through, his voice completely changes.
Yeah, if we can find it, if you hear the clip either before or after this, we've been bothered to sort that out. And if you don't, we'll probably post a link to it. That sounds fair. That sounds fair.
I'm going to try and look for it while I go through because it's very, very funny. But yeah, anyway, in the meantime, I'll carry on. Ronnie Dyler Smith.
Okay, yeah.
Written down, that's perfect, but in reality, it's awful. And the Great British Kick-Off.
Okay, yeah, that's sweet.
But in tribute to my favourite TV chef, I've gone for Flavortown FC.
Fair enough.
And in the meantime, I have managed to find the video, so I will play it because it's hilarious. It says it was tweeted by DJ Liam H, and the caption reads, "I challenge you to watch this without at least smiling. Paul Cook's voice changing halfway through an interview absolutely ruins me."
We've got to try and win. That's the brutal truth. If we want to get in them playoffs, we've got to try and win because you watch us today and again. It's the same things that come out of the game that we don't have to discuss game after game. We've just got to stay as positive as we can now for as long as we
can. What?
I've watched that on a loop for so long. It's just amazing because I know he must have a cold or something, but it just both voices sound like real voices. Now it just blows my mind.
Great stuff. I mean,
but anyway,
cool. Well,
there
you go. A little treat for everyone. So
yeah,
I think we'll head on over for kick-off. Flavortown FC versus Nigella Law Sunderland.
I think I'm going to start in midfield. And I do kind of feel like I'm kicking myself for this because it is kind of like the go-to selection, and it's somebody I really like, and I really like seeing on. It's one of those where in any cooking show, and it's just one of those sorts of things where it's an obvious choice, but I just need to guarantee that I've got it. And also, I can't help but think it could be an easy win, but you never know in this game, as we both know. But in central midfield, I've gone for Gordon Ramsay.
I did have him in my team. Fortunately, not centre mid. He's the one I wanted this week. I love Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like he's one of them people where a lot of people might be like, oh, well, he's a bit nasty and stuff, but I still don't know anyone that dislikes him.
I just find him so funny.
Yeah.
The stuff he says to people, that idiot sandwich meme is ridiculous. That's a grown man saying it to like a grown woman, and you just. And I know some people think it goes a bit too far, and there are times he probably does go a bit far. But some of the stuff he says on like Kitchen Nightmares, where he just calls people like fat idiots.
Yeah.
Or he just calls them useless, or
Yeah.
he's the master at walking past someone, giving them a side eye, and then saying "effing hell, f me," and just like walking out a door past them, and you just think, "Oh, that must be so killer." What best Ramsay show?
It's a tough one, but I would be tempted to say Hell's Kitchen just because of how much he really lays into him. Kitchen Nightmares is good, but I like how he sort of grows. I mean, I think in any other show you'd say, oh, it's nice how they grow, like a fondness for each other, but in that he grows like a hatred for each of them, and it's interesting because you get to see him kind of have these little. It's what you'd call an in joke for anyone else. It's like an insult. Where he sort of goes, oh, I hate them for this and them for this, and in each week it's you're waiting for him to pick up on something that he really doesn't like about somebody and then stick to it. It's tough though because he just has so many good shows. There's that Hell and Back, like 24 Hours to where he has to like fix a restaurant in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And there's and MasterChef USA is brilliant in that. Because again he's all cuddly with everyone, and then as soon as it goes wrong he's screaming at them. I don't dislike the like MasterChef Junior things, but I'm not saying I want him to shout at kids, but like you lose that in stuff like that. I do. Well, yeah, I do really.
I do.
It's just not the same, and I want him to shout at everyone.
Yeah, do it fun, innit? Yeah, we're just having a laugh.
It is kind of like the trump card this week, but it doesn't mean that it'll win though. But I just can't. I couldn't. It was the first name in the team sheet, and in central midfield he does play well in Soccer Aid. So it's like for once he's actually someone who can play football.
Well, I've got an alternative anyway.
Yeah.
One thing that I think is obviously pivotal to a centre midfielder is the ability to close down, particularly in five-a-side. We want someone that's able to close down, and nothing closes down restaurants faster than hygiene issues, such as, say, having rats.
Yeah.
Ergo, I've gone for Remy from Ratatouille.
That's a clever one. I knew you'd have clever ones. I would never have thought of that.
Remy from Ratatouille. Now that I don't care how good a chef you are, he'll shut you down. It did in the end. I mean, Auguste Gusteau, his restaurant, shut down because rats everywhere.
It's yeah. I mean, it's a very clever pick.
It's a battle between the theme itself and somebody who's decided to look at that theme and run away from it. I do like Ratatouille. Ratatouille gets better as you get older, I think.
It's a good film. I mean, yeah, and to be fair, it's the theme is celebrity chefs. That's technically a celebrity, somebody in a film, and he's a chef. So I don't see why that's outside of the rules. I didn't say they had to be human or like non-fiction.
Be tightening that up next week.
Next time maybe I will. But yeah, I mean it's tough. I think like I know I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot a bit, but one thing that I am kind of thinking is we've already kind of established that as much as Gordon Ramsay's very, very rough and very, and obviously even when he's played football and Soccer Aid, he's been, he's very, he just tackles everything that moves, and he's, as you'd imagine him to be. Mm. But his one Achilles heel, as we know from any show he's had, is when he's facing children, he goes very light on them. So I feel like we're going to struggle to differentiate which of these is stronger. So maybe the best way to work it out immediately in my head is how old is Remy? If Remy's a child, Gordon's not going to go for him, and he might let him off.
The film came out in 2007.
Yeah, which is mad, really.
13, 14 now, but I can find out actually how old he is. Oh, I can try and find out. I don't definitely know that this will be possible.
If you can prove he's not a child, then if you can prove he is a child, then that's an easy win, just based on Gordon Ramsay's Achilles heel of not going for kids in any way.
Oh well, do you know what the lifespan of a rat is?
What?
A brown rat is apparently 2 years, and a black rat is apparently 12 months.
But isn't he blue?
I think that's made up. I think that's creative
Damn it.
license.
Is there a lifespan for fictional blue rats, preferably animated?
12. If you look for blue rat lifespan, it brings up black rat and gives you 12 months, which is exciting. I mean, we could assume he lives slightly longer and gets to be sort of.
It's tough because what I was hoping was, and I know this is a stretch, but I was hoping that we'd somehow be able to find out how old he is, then work out what that is in human years, and then we have our answer.
Okay.
But I don't think anywhere says how old he is. And I mean, if we compare it to the apparent, I think it's Patton Oswalt, the American stand-up comedian, voiced him, but he's definitely going to be a grown-up when he did it. So I don't want to jump straight to that, but I don't know how else to do it.
Being a big Pixar star, Remy would probably bring in a lot of kids to watch. Would Ramsay want to be at his worst in front of like a good crowd of children?
I don't know. I think he. Well, I mean, he does at Soccer Aid, and that brings on a lot of kids. He still turns it on then, and he'll just 2-foot everyone. He doesn't care who's watching. I don't think.
Tricky.
It's tough, and I don't want to go straight for the managers yet. It's way too early.
Yeah. Oh, I like Gordon Ramsay. I would have picked him. I think he probably would 2-foot a rat. However old it is, to be honest, I think Ramsay wins it.
I mean, I'm just thinking as well. How many times has he? Do you think he's killed a rat? Actually,
Probably.
I'm looking up. Gordon Ramsay kills rat. Gordon Ramsay kills and eats a swamp rat in disgusting clip. Okay, well apparently he's killed and eaten a rat.
That's fine then. That's 1-0 to you.
It's a tough one because I do like Ratatouille. I'm partial to a very high quality Pixar film. Wall-E's probably my favourite.
Yeah.
Or either that or Up. I do like Up. And the good thing about Up is they get the sad bit out of the way.
I haven't watched it for a while, but I do have a theory that bit carries the whole film.
Yeah.
That's for another week.
Yeah. Well, I'm amazed I haven't got to that yet. But yeah, okay. Well, your words, not mine. I'll take it.
1-0.
It's very hard to know where to go next, but I feel like there's two names in my head where I just think I've got to go from. You know, it's like Mourinho picking his Spurs team and he has to pick Kane and Son. It's the same for me with this. It's kind of been a running theme for me to kind of have a full team that makes sense, and then the striker doesn't necessarily make sense because, I mean, I suppose that's fair because in a lot of ways a striker can be quick or it can be slow and strong instead of, you know, prioritize strength over pace or just be creative, and you know it doesn't always necessarily have to be this is how they are. Mm-hmm. Whereas, you know, a goalkeeper, if they wear gloves, you know, I've picked them. But yeah, so with my striker option, I've just gone, you know what, sod it. I'll go for who I think I want to see up front. And I've kind of gone for the Italian way of thinking, where I've gone for my star man. He'd have number 10. And even if he was in his 40s, he'd still be starting every game. And I've gone for Guy Fieri.
Okie dokes.
Which I know, again, you know, it's I've gone with my heart over my head, but I just couldn't leave him out because he's one of my favourite people.
Yeah, frosted tips.
Yeah,
flame shirts.
Yeah,
backwards sunglasses, the lot.
Yeah, I dressed up as him for Halloween once, and as you can imagine, nobody knew that it was him because I looked absolutely nothing like him. But the thought was there. So who have you gone for up against Guy Fieri?
This is someone who I've actually met in real life, and I shook their hand. Therefore, I know they have strong hands and would ergo make a very good goalkeeper. So I've gone for Cy from the Hairy Bikers.
That's a very clever. You know how stupid. You know this. I'm lost for words. I actually didn't think of either of them, and that's a very clever choice. I do like the Hairy Bikers, but which one is Cy?
He's the taller one with typically greyer hair.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah, see, I've gone the one with the more of a physical presence.
Yeah,
really.
Cy King, if anyone wants to go and look him up.
Right.
But he obviously is bikers, used to wearing gloves just as an added bonus. And
That's true. Actually, you've gone for my approach.
Yeah.
Going, do they wear gloves? Okay, well then they're in my
And
team.
it's purely from experience. I just know that is a man with safe hands. Very good handshake.
No.
You know, Dave was. It wasn't that Dave refused a handshake. He was just the other side of Si, so I could get to Si. But they're busy guys. It was very gracious of Si to shake my hand. I'm sure Dave would have as well. But hey,
Yeah, they must surely they were nice in real life. Please tell me they were nice.
Great
in real
guys. We were like at school waiting for the bus, and they were in the marketplace, and they were like walking through, gave high fives, shook hands, all that sort of stuff.
I'd be so upset if they were horrible.
No, Harry Bikers confirmed as good guys. You heard it here.
Oh, thank God.
Maybe not first, but I would imagine you heard it here, like towards the top of your list.
Well, thinking about it, we actually both could have put a celebrity chef we've met in real life, because I've met Simon Rimmer and I could have put him.
Did you?
I'm saying, you can tell that I've got no qualms about you picking him, or the possibility that I've already picked him myself because I've already mentioned it. He was doing he was cooking something in Cheshire Oaks as like a way of going, oh, buy this or whatever. And I remember we'd just been. I was with Jess and her brother, and I remember being, when you're so starstruck, and it's not. He's quite a normal, casual guy, and he's very, very nice. But even so, I kind of thought I need to make sure whatever I say really, really counts. I just didn't know what to say at all, and he said, "Oh, I had a bag with me from looking around the place," and he said, "Oh, what have you bought?" And I just went, "Oh, just some stuff."
Nice.
And I don't think I even said hello to him. That was all I said. And then I had a really uncomfortable picture with him where I looked like I'm about to be hit by a car. I just looked completely stunned, and it was just awful. But he was very nice though. But I just feel like, and you're just like, oh well, I had like 2 seconds to just say the right thing, and I didn't. I was just like, oh yeah, just some stuff, and it was almost like, I don't want to tell you, Simon Rimmer from Sunday Brunch. I don't trust you.
You never know. He might use that story himself. Now he might regale people with times that one guy just bullishly shrugged him off. Just some stuff, man. Get out of my hair, man.
But yeah, I mean, I think the sad thing is, well, that's not even like a good story. So it's like he probably doesn't even remember it. I wish it was like a bad story, but it's just like it's just a non. It's just like an almost non-existent story where he's just like, "Oh, I don't even remember you," and I'd be very upset. But
should we see if we can try and arrange another meeting? Should we just let's get a campaign going?
If we could get. Also, by the way, while I think of it, and also kind of getting back on subject, when you said Psy, I thought you meant Psy as in the Korean music star.
Well, I've put him on the wing. Explanations to come later.
Spoiler alert. Sorry. Because I just feel like Gangnam Style doesn't reference any food, so that's surely there's no way of blagging that, even in this game.
You're making me want to try now.
But yeah, anyway, between the two, it's very difficult because I do admit to picking Guy Fieri based on the fact I really like Guy Fieri, and he's one of those things where it's like, I'm kind of taking one for my own team to be like, I can't drop him. He's just such a nice guy, and he's just so iconic. I couldn't leave him out. But at the same time, I kind of knew that doing that could be at the expense of possibly dropping a point here. I don't know. It's tough because I'm kind of edging towards saying, well, I could imagine Psy from Hairy Bikers being a really, really good shot stopper.
I'm certain of it.
I feel like we go off stats as much as we can now, and like facts. So I'm sort of trying to find a way where
fact, Psy's got a firm handshake.
Well, I know it sounds silly, and I really do. I try not to cave in over anything, but I do feel like it's such a fine margin that might do it, because you do know that for a fact.
It's definite.
And I trust that you're not lying. So, I think based on the fact that I'll die on this hill for Guy Fieri, which is one of my many phrases, I think it's 1-1.
Oof. Hairy bikers, bringing it back. Well, one of them anyway.
It's tough to know where to go next, but I think I'm going to go centre back. I know usually I do kind of go for like proper athletes. Like I'll go for Hitman or Ultron, or just somebody who's tall, but also they've got some kind of like tactical component in the mind, or they're intelligent. But this time I've kind of gone for like who do I think would do the job really in a kind of Sunday league atmosphere, I suppose, which five-a-side always has that kind of element to it. So I've gone for Paul Hollywood at centre back.
Okay, interesting.
I think he's the type that he's all smiles on the telly, but he's up for a scrap if he needs to.
Not bad, Paul Hollywood.
So who's going up against Paul Hollywood?
Pure creativity. I've gone with Heston. Heston Blumenthal.
That's a clever one. He's definitely creative.
I've got opportunities for him out wide to get that ball in that sort of creative area, feed the striker. It's difficult to say too much without giving away other players. But, there's a workman-like ethic to this team, and I think Heston will bring a nice flourish, that creativity, sees things others don't. Big reputation as well.
It is like brain versus brawn, isn't it?
Yeah. How do you reckon? Hollywood's quite reserved with his handshakes, isn't he? He doesn't. He doesn't offer up contact. Do you think that's avoiding contact, or do you think that's just? I
think he knows when to go to him and when not to.
Yeah.
But I think he's the type where he would put his hands behind him in a free kick. But he knows when he might get away with it with a handball. When he knows VAR's switched off for a few minutes, he knows when to do it. He's quite switched on, but he doesn't give a lot away. He's a thinking man. He's not a thinking man's defender, but he's no fool.
I should say actually, my wide player was originally going to be Gordon Ramsay, so Heston is a substitute. Heston is my substitute coming in.
So that's it.
Yeah. I should clarify, in the interest of fairness, I could have got away with that, but Ramsay turned up on the other team, so
very, very good of you.
Well, nothing if not fair. So,
well, it's tough now, really, because I do see the qualities in Heston, and he was actually one of my options off the bench if it came to it. He was actually originally my manager, but then I changed to someone else. But we'll come to that later. But then I just think Paul's the type where he's up for a fight, and he's got a big presence physically and kind of in the world of cooking. So and I mean you see how much people really appreciate when he gives people handshakes on telly. That's very important to him, and it's more important to them. So I'm not really sure how we decide this, to be honest. Sadly, there's not really a lot of one chef versus another.
He's about the same height as Heston as well.
Is he?
Do you know 4 foot, as if 5'7"?
Oh, I wouldn't expect that.
No,
I thought Heston would be a lot taller.
Yeah, they're roughly the same age. Paul's just slightly older.
I've just seen on shortlist.com there's who is Britain's hardest TV chef.
Oh, here we go.
If you'd be willing for me to look at that. From 2017 this is. I'm hoping that it is ranked. This is going to be tough. I'm scared of how this could go. So number one is Gordon Ramsay, which you'll be shocked to hear. You'll be even more shocked to hear who number 2 is. Who would you think was the second hardest chef in Britain?
I don't know. I would have guessed maybe like Greg Wallace or something.
Yeah, it's Gino D'Acampo, which I feel like just isn't true, especially with Anthony Worrell Thompson's number 3. But number 4's Paul Hollywood, and Heston's number 8.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
But then I don't.
Levi Root's
Heston,
number 10. I don't really understand how they've chosen this.
Heston doesn't need to be a hard man though out wide. He'd just dazzle you.
True.
They
True.
do describe him here as a nausea cuisine wizard.
It's very tough. I'm not sure how we work this out.
Anything like worth? I don't
Yeah,
know,
that's true.
that does feel a bit mean, but
How much is he worth then?
we could bring him. We could bring in managers, I guess. That would be another alternative.
It may come to that, yeah. I'll look up net worth if you want. It's hard. It's so hard to find like recent ones. Here's one from 2021 for Heston. For 2021, his estimate net worth is 3.5 million.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to find one as recent for Paul Hollywood. Bloody hell! Apparently Paul Hollywood is 11.5.
Fine. Well, we've gone 2 places, and Paul Hollywood's looking like he's coming out on top. So
I don't feel good about this round, but I don't know what else we can do.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll go. It makes nice rustic rolls that you can bake at home as well. And I've never baked any Heston stuff at home, so I don't mind.
No,
we can go 2-1.
2-1 it is. I think I'm going to go to goalkeeper now, but it is a name you might not be aware of. But I'm not sure if you've heard of a show on Food Network called Restaurant Impossible. I did try to make a really bad pun out of it before.
I don't watch it.
No, it's pretty much a show. It's quite an enjoyable show because it's where an English chef who's really, really bulked up, like to a point where he just doesn't suit him at all. But he goes to someone's restaurant, very similar to like the Gordon Ramsay 24 Hours show he does, where he tries to. It's pretty much that, but from a few years ago with a less as famous chef. But this massive muscle-bound chef turns up at the restaurant. He has a massive like sledgehammer with him actually, and smashes through one of the walls to show how tough he is, because he likes to show off how tough he is, because he really is tough, honestly. And then he's like, he is a good chef, but he sort of like, look how bulky I am. I will destroy everyone here. But he's called Robert Irvine, and he's absolutely massive. I can't tell you how massive he is, and so for that reason, he's my goalkeeper.
Yeah, looks like a good pick. I've googled him, and he is huge. I think I have watched it a couple of times.
It's just one of them where it's like, he's got the designers in to, like, we'll work to find a new design for this place, and there's people come in who are like, oh great, we know what stoves are the cutting edge, and then he works alongside a few chefs to teach him how to cook properly, and how to manage a kitchen hygienically, and how to get how to work out the finances in a professional way. But then out of nowhere, he just sledgehammers through a wall, and they're like, okay, thanks for that. But I think he's good at what he does. But I just could see him being a good goalkeeper. I nearly put him at centre back, but I just thought Paul Hollywood's built for that role. So this was what I went with in goal. He doesn't wear gloves. He wears gloves rarely, I think. That's one thing.
Already at a disadvantage then.
Yeah, I'll be honest. But who's he going up against? That's the most important thing.
So I've gone for a striker that's, I think, just the star of the show, really. So I've gone for Adam Richman, aka Man from Man vs. Food.
That's a tough one. That's a very tough one.
I mean, we've all watched Man vs. Food, and we've all thought how great it would be. He's also like, even though he was eating loads, he was in quite good. He's in a huge training regime to make sure like he didn't just die.
Yeah.
whilst he was on it.
He just would eventually.
And then he's got an interest in football as well, so he has stakes in Grimsby, I think, ownership or something in Grimsby, and he's played in Soccer Aid, another reference for that. And not to say how proficient he was in that, but in this world, it doesn't matter too much. Just like a bit of colour.
Yeah. Well, actually, do you remember what happened with him in Soccer Aid? It was actually really upsetting because it meant so much to him to play in that, and obviously he came over and he trained so hard for it, and he came on for like 10 minutes, and then rest of the world started losing, so Mourinho took him off, and I don't think he even touched the ball.
Oh.
It was, and you just thought, God, that must have really upset him. But like you say, I mean, he has played football. We don't know. I have actually found some pictures of Robert Irvine holding gloves, so.
Holding or wearing, because holding implies he's not very.
There's some pictures of him holding construction gloves, and then some of him wearing like rubber gloves. But I'd rather he wore the construction gloves because they're a bit more, they're sort of a bit more hard wearing that would be good for in goal. But yeah, I mean, it puts me at a disadvantage that Adam Richman has played football, and for the world to see.
And he's typically a bit of a winner. I think he had a positive record on Man vs Food in the end, I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, who cares about the other guy since?
Well, exactly.
The show was Adam Richman doing.
Yeah,
I don't even know who the other guy is. He's certainly not in my team.
Apparently it's Casey Webb.
Honestly, if you'd made that up,
it could be anyone. And I mean, that's the mark of an imposing presence up top as well. Like you remember the man who wore the shirt before you. So I think,
that's very profound.
Yeah, isn't it? It's quite dark. So yeah, I'm fairly happy with Adam Richman as a selection.
I mean. Like I say, I'm really trying not to cave in as much, but I just think the just how effective Adam Richman is as a footballer compared to Robert Irvine potentially wearing industrial gloves just makes me think that you've got it back to a draw at the moment. I think it's 2-2.
I'll take it. I think it's that competitive. He's used to competing. I think that just pushes him ahead.
That too, yeah.
All right, cool. 2-2.
Here we go then. Our last picks, and obviously you've used your sub up and I haven't, so I do kind of have two chances at this. But at the same time, if your pick's strong enough, then there's nothing else I can do. But I mean, it's a tough one because my other picks, I put them in positions and then that was it. But with this one, I did kind of change a few times. But there was just one name that popped up, and I thought I can't leave him out. And I just thought, like, you need sort of someone who's a bit creative and a bit unhinged on the wing, let's say. So I thought, I think my team's quite serious in a lot of ways. Apart from Guy Fieri up front, it's very serious. It's very strong. I wanted somebody on the wing who's a bit creative and a bit lively and a bit eccentric. So I thought, who fits that from chefs? And I suppose just one name just stuck out. So for me on the wing, I've gone for Ainsley Harriott.
Nice. Yeah.
Who've you got? Who's stopping Ainsley Harriott?
Yeah. Left field choice, Monica Geller from Friends.
That's very left field.
Yeah. So
it's clever though, because it's a celebrity and a chef.
Yeah, if you think about like playing centre back, you're going to want someone who's a good sweeper. Monica was an obsessive cleaner.
Yeah, true.
She's commanding presence from the back, very bossy. You see her in her work environment, and she's also quite like a fired up will tell you what to do, where to go, kind of individual. Works well in a team,
True.
as we've seen. Got on well with like, her 5 friends for a very long time. And then their partners, obviously, as they arrived. Hi, Paul Rudd. Also, just like, seems like a good person as well. Like I quite like Courtney Cox as a human. She seems pretty decent.
Yeah.
And Monica does have a bit of sporting pedigree. She's very good when they're out playing American football.
Yeah.
For Super Bowl and whatnot. So, I just thought stick her at centre back. She's got a sort of, I don't want to say crazy side, but it's kind of like that.
Well,
she could be quite intimidating, I think.
Yeah.
I think she'd definitely get into Ainsley's head.
I don't know. I just think Ainsley's too nice. I don't think anyone would want to upset Ainsley Harriott. I don't think there's a picture of him where he's not smiling. I think he's just like, he'd be one of those like what Denver Bar used to be like, where they'd interview him and he'd just say that he loves syrup, and you're like, okay, but what did you think of this game? He's like, I just love syrup, and you're like, okay, I can't fault you. Fair play to you. You're just happy. And I just think he's just completely mental, and fair play to him, because he just doesn't. He just sort of he goes with his heart, doesn't he? And he just loves everything. And I just think he's one of them that's just a bit of a live wire. You could see him being quick and quite technical. Does far too many tricks. Laughs all his way to the goal. Does make potentially frustrating celebrations after scoring, but you can't really fault him for it. It's a tough one. I'm not sure how we really split this, because I doubt anywhere's got Ainsley Harriott versus Monica.
It's always worth having a Google,
and it's the decider, of course. If it comes to it, I will have to bring on a sub, but I'm very happy with my pick, so it's very very hard for me to do that, because I don't really want to.
I don't know. I just think Monica's more suited to her position than Ainsley. I think she'd clean him out.
There is a worry that he's too nice.
Should we go to managers?
I actually picked. It's quite a sad pick in a way, because it's the only pick possibly like ever in the whole time I've been doing this podcast who is no longer alive. But I just thought he's one of them people that he's got a lot of swagger to him, and he's sort of like he's an icon of food, so it's kind of a tribute to him. But I know I did say at one point I'd nearly put Heston Blumenthal as my manager, but I picked Anthony Bourdain. I'm not sure if you know of him, but it was about 3 years ago he died, but he was one of those he was like the bad boy of like celebrity chefs, and he'd go to Japan and just spend like a month there and smoke and hang around the place, and he's just like the definition of cool. So yeah, it was kind of like a tribute to him, but he's like he's got a voice you could have listened to all day. And he's one of them with he's got a lot of charisma to him. So I think he'd have been the perfect manager. Who would yours have been?
Oh, the antithesis of all that, Delia Smith.
That's good. Well, you know what the team talking.
Well, exactly. I just thought that one didn't go particularly well, but I just thought, well, football, food, chefs, probably should put Big Delia in there. Get a bit. Let's be having you.
I don't feel good about this week, because I feel like I've really laid it onto you that I've got an interest in this, and I'm like I've really got you to get involved and stuff, but it's the luck of the draw, isn't it? A lot of the time when I've picked the theme, you've won anyway, so it's hard to predict.
Yeah, I think ultimately I'm probably happy to concede. I mean, Delia does represent Norwich, and I am an Ipswich fan, and Anthony Bourdain badass. So I think that's 3-2 to you. I think it's another win for Rob, 3 in a row. It's finally happened then. Rob, after 7 weeks, is in the overall lead with 4 wins against my 3. We'd absolutely love to hear your thoughts on the show this week. You can find us on Twitter at FantFantFootPod, and you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at FantFantFoot. You can also find us on YouTube, and you can subscribe and like us on all your podcast apps and all the rest of it. And we will be back again next week for another exciting edition of the Fancy Football podcast. Thank you very much for listening and have a lovely week. Bye.